Welcome back to Afternoon Live. If your heart starts to race when you see the words Black Friday sale, you are not alone. So what is it that drives our addiction to bargain shopping? Let's find out as we welcome back our friend, psychologist Dr. Leah Katz. It's so nice to see you over Zoom, but we miss you in person.
Oh, it's so nice to see you over Zoom, and I miss being there in person so much, but I'm so glad that I get to see you this way.
Well, and good thing you're here because this Black Friday stuff is a little bit crazy. Let's kind of dive into the psychological stuff of it all. Why are we so obsessed with this idea of getting a deal?
Yeah, I think that there's so many different psychological principles at play, and you can sort of pick it apart and come at it from different angles. I think one of the very big ones is this idea behind risk aversion and scarcity, right? So risk aversion means that we're more afraid of losing something than we are motivated by the joy of getting it. And if you pair that with scarcity, I mean, Black Friday sales are all about like only 2 items left or 48 hours only. If you pair the two of those things together, we feel really compelled to go and like it's almost like a game that we're winning.
It's so true. I mean, I'm so guilty of getting that retail high over the smallest things, and it feels like you said, like you won something, but at the end of the day, did I really need this, and what was my brain thinking?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that if we take a step back and we're not in this like emotionally decision mode where we're making decisions based off of our emotions and we do some research, we realize that a lot of the time we're not actually getting a great deal. But another thing that comes into play with why we do this is we're social creatures. We look over our shoulder and we see a lot of other people doing this, and that sort of gives it credibility. So we're just motivated. We're like, oh, if everyone else is doing it, then there must be something to it, and we sort of talk ourselves or we ignore the logic behind it.
Well, and tell me about this idea of the endowment effect. What does that mean, and how does it come into play with this kind of shopping?
Yeah, and so this one comes, I think, mostly into play with online shopping, but basically what it means is once you put something in your cart, you have an attachment to that item. So you start to like think about it in your home. Where am I going to put it? And the memories I'm going to have with my kids. And we kind of run away with it. So it becomes ours before we even purchase it. So that's why it's tricky. And if you want to work on it or be intentional around how much you buy on Black Friday, to try and be very selective about what goes in that cart.
Because once you get started, there can be some momentum too, right? And then you can just really get yourself into trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another theory. It's the shopping momentum. So once you buy one item, it kind of opens the door to more purchases. It becomes easier to buy the second item and the third item. So yeah, we have to be really careful about what we're buying and the intention behind it. And even if it's something small, that's the interesting thing with the shopping momentum. It could be something small, but that small thing opens the door to potentially much bigger purchases.
Well, and then you're $10 away from the free shipping minimum, and then you're looking around, and then you're adding things, and then you've just completely lost control. So let's talk
Exactly.
about some ways we can counteract some of these things, being conscious with how we're doing our shopping this season.
Yes, exactly. So I think that that's just sort of like the intention behind it. Taking a step back, knowing that the season is almost upon us, and developing some strategies and some ideas around what you're going to do so that you make smart purchases.
How about having a buddy? That sounds like a good place to start.
There's nothing like accountability with anything. So if you want to watch your budget and make sure that you don't impulse buy, having a buddy, specifically one who's maybe a little bit thriftier than you, might be a really good place to start. You know, because when we do things alone, we're more likely, and I know I've had this experience, we're more likely to buy the thing or do the thing that we know maybe we shouldn't be doing.
Or think, well, I could still return it, and then it's never going to get returned because you're never going back there. Okay, what about how to avoid that shopping momentum?
Yeah. And so I think that's the same sort of thing, bringing intention and consciousness into what you're buying. So be careful about like the little door grabbers, like, oh, $5 for this or $10 for this. Once you start putting those things in your cart, you're more likely to go ahead and like make those bigger purchases. So you might want to like create a little bit of like mindfulness pauses when you like hold something in your hand. Pause for a minute, ask yourself, did I come here to buy this? Do I really need this? Do I want this? Be very careful about those small things that like can really trip you up and make you purchase more things.
Well, and like when you walk into the store, not picking up a basket, not getting a cart, that can really impact your experience the whole time that you're shopping.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we set ourselves up for success, in doing those small things, and that's a good one that you just mentioned, like just don't take a basket. I know we've all been there. I know I've been there where you come in for one thing and you don't take a basket and you really don't buy other things because you just can't. Like you only have so much room in your arms.
Well, and making a list can usually help too. I mean, I know I'm guilty of going outside the list, but having it there in the first place can't hurt, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's all around the intention. So setting a list, taking a step back, what do I need? What do I want to buy? What's my budget? Really trying to stay to the list. Something that I really like about the list and like the intention behind doing that kind of exercise is it gives you some perspective. So you can bring yourself into like the future. Like how would my future self feel about this purchase? You know, if I buy something off of this list, will me a week from today regret it, be okay? Me a month from today, how will I feel? So the list helps you stay anchored, but can also feed into that perspective.
One, have you seen people have success with only taking maybe cash into a store and kind of limiting the credit card usage? Because sometimes it just doesn't even feel like we're really spending money.
Yes, and I think that's a whole other conversation about the psychology behind credit cards and cash. But for sure, if we go in with our budget, we have cash, we leave our credit cards at home, like that's a good strategy. Absolutely, you set yourself up for success in a very profound way, I think.
And then what about making other plans? Does that help you kind of stick to a time limit?
Absolutely. And I think that if we think about where some of the Black Friday shopping comes from, it can be like to ease some of the stress that we just had on Thanksgiving. So if you make different plans that are stress relievers, like go for a hike or go spend some time with a friend or whatever it is that you can do with that free time, it might be so much more rewarding than spending that time shopping and buying things that you might not really need and your future self might not be happy about.
It is really fun in the moment, but yeah, we got to pump the brakes every once in a while. It was so
Yeah.
nice to see you. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.